Whether you operate one forklift or thousands, one location or hundreds, the new My Toyota customer portal can help you optimize your operation and material handling equipment. This one-stop, free-to-use platform is designed to help you take control of your information and make smarter decisions, all at the touch of a button. Register and access your data today at my.toyotaforklift.com. That's my.toyotaforklift.com.
Hey, this is Will Chu of Vector, and you're listening to the New Warehouse Podcast. Here is today's safety tip. It's to create a pickup and delivery process that doesn't require a lot of people to come through your warehouses and offices, require people to stand in lines, and to pass paper back and forth.
How do you create warehouse superheroes? The answer is simple. With visual voice scan solutions from ProCensus. With record demand and labor shortages, warehouses need more effective workers and lightning fast onboarding. Visual voice scan solutions from ProCensus enable warehouse workers to achieve superhero performance with up to 20% improved productivity and up to 99% accuracy. Hands-free barcode scanners from ProGlove paired with wearable mobile computers is just the beginning. Improved mobile interfaces with reduced keystrokes, easy-to-read screens, custom keyboards, voice-enabled interface, and more can be realized with ease on the leading WMS platforms. Sound too good to be true? Let us show you with our one-of-a-kind virtual demo. Visit ProCensus.com to get started today. Again, that's ProCensus.com to get started. With e-commerce off the charts, many small and growing warehouses are asking, how can I get ahead when my warehouse is barely keeping up? The answer is future-ready warehouse tech from Zebra Technologies. Warehouses can simplify and upgrade all processes, from automated inventory management to hands-free picking, with Zebra's tailored, scalable mobile solutions. They're simple and intuitive. There's never been a better time to upgrade for success with Zebra. How can your warehouse get ahead? The answer's in black and white. Get the answers at zebra.com/theanswer. That's zebra.com/theanswer. Fulfillment demand continues to skyrocket and outpace available labor. To keep up, warehouse operators are turning to flexible fulfillment solutions like 6 River Systems. Utilizing 6 River Systems' award-winning combination of collaborative robots, artificial intelligence, and operational expertise will make your associates and wall-to-wall fulfillment workflow more efficient. No new infrastructure, no change to warehouse layout, easy to deploy and scale, easy to train and retain associates, all at half the cost of traditional automation. Want to take your fulfillment operation to the next level? Go to www.6river.com to learn more. That's www.6river.com to learn more.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
Hey, it's Kevin Lawton with the New Warehouse Podcast, bringing you a new episode today. On today's episode, I'm going to be joined by Will Chu. He is the co-founder and CEO at Vector. And Vector is focused on making the delivery process and shipping process a lot more streamlined and especially paper-free, which is a great thing, obviously, for not only sustainability aspects, but also for effectiveness and streamlining and making things more efficient, and also reducing the amount of paper that gets lost by drivers, which happens all the time. So we're going to talk to Will. We're going to hear about how he kind of came up with the idea and his background a little bit, and talk to him about Vector Solution and how it works. So, Will, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Happy to connect with you and get you on the show. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background? You're co-founder at Vector. So tell us about your background and how, it kind of led you to founding this company.
Yeah, it's a great question. Man, almost 10 years ago now, one of my good friends took over his family business. And the family business was a trucking and logistics business up in Oroville, California. And, his dad ran it for many years and was looking to retire. And so, as he was taking over, he had a lot of ideas about how to create a lot more efficiencies and visibilities in his pickup and delivery process.
Yeah.
He had a fleet of about 50 drivers. And, my background, I'm actually a software engineer by trade. So he asked me to come up, and, I spent a year with him and his team, and got a really good understanding of where we could, bring efficiencies into the business. And it really started with a simple concept of eliminating paper. When you think about, the bill of lading today, and I know we're just coming off the Olympics, right? But it is the baton that gets handed off from shipper to carrier to receiver, and it's a synchronous process. And by nature of passing on the baton, it's slow, right?
Yeah,
and it's a huge pain for drivers and warehouses. So we built the initial idea of allowing drivers to scan paperwork and allow warehouses to communicate that paper digitally. And so that's where the initial idea came from.
All right, cool. Yeah, I love the idea, and I think it's a great thing. And like you said, I mean, paper is just why so much paper in our world? We don't need it, right? And I think it's interesting because actually, I'm a warehouse manager by day, and I was in the warehouse recently one late night. I was covering the late shift, and we had the last driver come. We're wrapping everything up, and driver forgot to sign the bills, and came back and had to let him back in. I almost had the gates closed, everything. I was almost out of there, and he's like, "Oh, I forgot. I'm sorry." And then he's in there, and he was telling me that, like, I've been doing this. I've been a driver for, I think it was like 40 years or something like that. He's like, "I'm retiring in a month," and he's like, "Can you imagine that this technology has not changed in this whole time? Like, I've just been signing papers this whole time, like, and nothing has happened. Nothing is better." So I think the fact that you guys are tackling that problem, I think is huge, and it's something that's totally overdue, in my opinion, honestly. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a great thing, and I love the origin story. I think it's really interesting how the idea came about, and really kind of identifying this larger problem and trying to just make it better for everybody involved, for all parties, shippers and the trucking companies as well. So I mean, it's more than just eliminating paper. So why don't you tell us, I guess, what the overall mission and goal of Vector is, and what you guys are really trying to solve in the overall scheme of things?
Yeah, that's a great question. When you think about supply chain, even the word supply chain has a connotation of links and collaboration, right? There's a lot of different companies involved. It's a team sport, and that team sport is usually played on the fields of warehouses, facilities, manufacturing plants. That's where the collaboration happens. And when you think about what happens when a truck driver needs to enter a facility, they got to check in with the security team at the welcome center or the guard shack. They got to present paperwork. The guard's got to verify the seal. They walk around to the back of the truck. The driver then stages their truck, goes into the shipping office to sign those bills, like you said.
Yeah.
And then when they check out, right, they got to present the paper again to the security guard to make sure that, everything lines up with what the paperwork says. If you're empty, they walk around to the back to check, make sure that you're empty. If you're loaded, they got to make sure that the seal matches the bill of lading again. So that process just in itself is slow.
Yeah.
And, when you think about like what happens when we go to the airport today, right? None of us are snaking around that line to get the boarding pass anymore. So why should a driver have to wait in line to present paperwork or to get paperwork? You facilitate a much faster and efficient process when you allow the driver to check in essentially on their phone, get the bill of lading electronically signed on their device, get instructions. Drivers can take a photograph of the seal, right? And now not only does the receiver have the information on pickup, they have the, seal photograph, they have the bill of lading, they have advanced visibility of what's actually coming on the truck, but the carrier gets that information as well. They don't have to wait for the paperwork to be faxed back to the office. And so that collaboration, what used to take that physical baton to go around a few times, now happens instantly digitally with the record of it. And everyone's collaborating on the same information. So that's our big vision, to really harness that collaboration and make it even better to create even new workflows or products that we didn't even think about.
Yeah, I think that's awesome too, and I love the analogy there of the boarding pass in the airport. I mean, it makes total sense, and I think it's interesting because it kind of mimics this trend I've been noticing. Just talking to different technology companies in the logistics and warehousing space is that you're looking at a lot of technology that we're utilizing like in our personal lives, and now it's kind of being adapted and translated into the logistics world, and the boarding pass is a great example of that as well. So obviously you just kind of walk through the steps of what the classic process is in terms of a driver picking up a load, but I'm curious, why do you think that, going back to my story with the driver questioning, why have I been doing this like my entire career? Why hasn't anything changed? Why do you think that we have relied on paper in this sense and these processes for so long? Like, why do you think no one has tried to challenge this kind of sooner?
We'll be back after a quick break.
You hear a lot about supply chains these days, because if the past couple years have taught us anything, it's that an efficient, well-managed supply chain is absolutely critical to keeping businesses successful and consumers happy. I'm Will Haywood, and I host a podcast called All Business, No Boundaries, where we talk about supply chains, how they work, what happens when they don't, and the innovations that are redefining what's possible in the world of logistics. Join me for insightful interviews with thought leaders and industry experts. We discuss how optimizing supply chains can break down the barriers that are holding businesses back. That's All Business, No Boundaries by DHL Supply Chain. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, it's simple. I mean, paper is easy. When you think about the number of carriers or even the number of warehouses, right? Especially on the truck side, it's super fragmented. And that's what's awesome about it as well. Any entrepreneur can start their own trucking company, their carrier, they get their authority, right? Yeah. And so the easiest way to pass information along is to put it on paper. And it makes a lot of sense. And changing processes are always difficult, right? Like, I'm a man of routine. I don't like it when things change. And so that's one of the reasons why paper has been around for so long. But when you think about technology today and the ubiquity of cell phones and mobile technology and just the ability to connect different WMS systems, it's getting easier to change. And I think people are recognizing that the new process is more efficient and more visible. And this pandemic has really brought that to light. Yeah. When we think about how to create a safer environment for not only truck drivers but warehouse employees, right? It's honestly just keeping people physically apart right now as much as possible. Yeah. I love getting together with my buddies, but if in a workplace setting, I think that the more you can keep people socially distant, right, the safer and the less risk that we have. So I think that's kind of accelerating the adoption of a digital pickup and delivery process.
Yeah. It's interesting. I guess I like to call them the pandemic innovations, and how that's kind of spurred some technology advances, and not only just, I guess, the advance on the technology side, but then also the adoption rate too, because it's become almost like a necessity. So it's kind of like, instead of feeling out this new technology, it's like, well, we need this new technology, so let's take it on. So I think it's really interesting in that sense, and it'd be interesting to see how it continues to grow as well. So you talk through kind of the classic process, check the seal, go to the shipping office, all these different things. So tell us a little bit about, on the Vector side, like what does that process look like if we're using Vector? But I guess first, actually, let me ask you. So Vector, is your customer the shipper or is it the trucking company?
That's a great question. So our focus is on shippers and receivers, people that have facilities and warehouses. So people that want to digitize their process. So to your question about, how does it work? Mm-hmm. Facilities can share instructions, including the bill of lading, to drivers on their mobile device. And so it's an app that drivers download, and they can sign for it doing an electronic signature. Right? They can fill out information about the shipment. They can take a photograph of the trailer and the trailer seal, and we geotag and timestamp it. So all that information is really valuable to warehouses, because instead of a paper process where guards are doing that or shipping clerks are entering that information, right? The driver is doing that in collaboration with the facility, and the facility is retaining that data and using that to direct drivers or to direct their warehouse employees. So the customer is the shipper or receiver. Now we have a number of trucking companies that also want a similar process, and they want a process that's specific to their drivers. Okay. And so for the trucking companies that want, customization or configuration to their process, they can also be customers. But our focus is really on shippers and receivers, 4PLs, 3PLs, people that operate and manage facilities.
Okay, interesting. So now the shipper, they ship their load, right, and it generates the BOL and everything. So now does that? I'm guessing it's cloud based, and how does that now transfer over to the trucker if they don't have Vector?
Yeah. So at the facilities that we're deployed to, drivers can scan a QR code where it directs them to the app on the App Store. If it's iPhone, it's the iTunes Store. Otherwise, it's the Play Store and Android, and they'll be able to access the app through that way. We also have the ability to send the BOL through email and text message as well. But when you think about more of a pickup and delivery workflow, there's a number of steps that drivers need to execute. So really the app way is the way to go.
Okay, interesting. So it's very accessible, which I think is a great thing as well, especially when you're using multiple carriers and different carriers, and sometimes in a pinch you need to pick up a independent carrier, somebody you may have not used previously. So it's good that they can quickly kind of, I guess, conform to your standards and do things the way you want them to do as a shipper. So that's really good. So now I'm curious too about with the adoption of it and kind of how your customers have been impacted in a positive way once they implement Vector. And I think I saw somewhere some numbers about some time savings that Vector is really giving the customer. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that and throw us some stats, get us excited.
Yeah, everyone loves the stats. Well, you can learn more about what we're doing at a website called contactlessstandard.org, and there's some more information there. And there's a video that really outlines what we're doing. And so together as an industry, we're trying to create a standard that is interoperable. When you think about pickup and delivery, right? Okay. We want to make sure that all sides can connect to each other and talk to each other. So that's the task force that we've built. And on that website, there's a great video. We're going to be posting more videos from different companies that are implementing the standard. And the standard is not a Vector-only solution. There's a number of other technology companies that are helping to build and implement the standard. I think for companies that have implemented contactless pickup and delivery, there's been a massive reduction in dwell time. Again, it goes from I think when I used to travel, right, my parents would force me to go 3 hours away to the airport to make sure we caught our plane and checked in on time. Yeah. But for drop and hook operations, we're seeing reductions from 66 minutes down to as low as 11 minutes for a turnaround time. So there's massive savings there. Yeah. When we think about the number of exceptions that are caught, the number of missed bills, we're going from a number to zero, essentially, right? When you have a digital record of it, the ability to search and find information, to capture and to also detect bad things before they happen is now possible. And so it's from a visibility and just dwell time efficiency standpoint, it's been huge.
Yeah, I can imagine. And the 66 minutes down to 11 is substantial. I mean, you're talking almost an hour of savings, and with that hour, I mean, you can imagine, especially if you're just pulling trucks, going back to the dispatch site and then coming back to again, like you can almost potentially turn a whole nother truck with that savings. So it's really a big gain for the truckers, and also for the shippers as well, being able to get more more product out and utilize that yard space accordingly, and the dock space as well, and just turn things even faster, which is great. So that's pretty amazing. So I'm very interested to see how Vector keeps going, and I think there's so much paper in our world. So anytime I hear that someone is trying to eliminate it, I get very excited. I mean, maybe that's a little nerdy of me, but it kind of drives me crazy. And I just go back to there's only a few instances I guess I can think of where someone lost that paper, but when they lose it, it's like such a pain, because and like you said, but with the digital record, I mean, it's it's always kind of there, so you don't have to worry about that, and then you don't have to go, somebody wants to make a claim or something, and you have to pull the BOL, and you have to go through all the files, paper files, and everything. It's a mess. So cleaning that up, and obviously also doing better by the environment as well in that sense too is a great thing as well. So I'm curious, what do you think is coming up next for Vector? What do you guys have on the horizon, and what kind of goals are you trying to tackle next?
Yeah, our main focus is to really serve our customers and make sure that we're being able to facilitate a tighter collaboration process amongst their partners, whether it be a 4PL, a carrier or receiver, right? Giving them more visibility and collaboration, deepening the product. So we are very much an engineering company. I'm an engineer by trade, okay. And so our team is heavily skewed towards product and development, which is great. And then on the business side, it's really to grow the network and to bring on more facilities and to connect more people. The more connections we make, the more information sharing, the tighter the network grows, the more benefits each facility gets. The ability to see across yards, across facilities is what our customers are really excited about.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. So what is, if people are listening to this and they're thinking like, oh, this might be a good product for me, what's the ideal customer fit? Is there any kind of requirements they need, or is this potentially universal for everybody, or how is the fit there?
Yeah, I would say that the fit is for any facility that has drivers coming through, and there are people issuing BOLs, and you're trying to keep track of what's being pulled and what's coming in. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great fit. So anyone that runs or operates a warehouse where truck drivers are coming through.
Okay, cool. So pretty much every warehouse, sounds like.
Yeah, basically.
All right, very cool. And so I wanted to ask you about one more thing before we wrap up here. I saw, we're on a podcast right now, but I saw that you guys have a podcast too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that and the listeners, because obviously we have people that listen to podcasts that are listening right now, so maybe they want to listen to yours.
Yeah, our podcast is for anyone that's interested in new things that are happening in supply chain. So we typically invite people who operate within companies. So we've had folks from Conagra, Pepsi, you name it, join us on the podcast to talk about the challenges that they're facing and what they're doing to solve them. The topics range quite a bit. We try to keep it fresh. We don't try to use the same topic more than once, and so it's really focused on supply chain being anyone in warehousing, transportation, or third-party logistics.
All right, very cool. And what's the name of the podcast?
It's called Down to Freight. So in case you listen on Spotify, you can find it on Down to Freight. Down to Freight.
Gotcha. All right, cool. So Will, I want to thank you for coming on the show and talking to us about Vector, and I want to thank you for eliminating a lot of paper as well. I appreciate that personally, and I love to hear about it, and excited to see what's to come from Vector as well. So say your website one more time.
Withvector.com.
Withvector.com. All right, very cool. So we'll put all those links that Will mentioned on the newwarehouse.com as well, so you can easily find them. So Will, thank you again for coming on the show.
You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you want more content from the new warehouse, check out our new video series called All Hands on LinkedIn. Just search for the new warehouse on LinkedIn and follow along.